Everyone, this is Brad Matheny. This is the 20th of August. This is the Plan Your Trade video update for the 20th of August. We're looking at a fairly mellow day. You can see price came right up and tagged my upper area right up here, the 560 and a half, 560.60 level, and has rolled right back down into this narrow channel. Now, if we are going to get the Bozu day, we are going to have to look at this from a standpoint of the daily chart. And we're going to have to look all the way in here to see what it's going to look like for us to move downwards. Let's get rid of these. Oops, not that. Let's get rid of that. And that. Potentially that. So for us to get a downward or a Bozu day, we're going to have to close on the high like we had up here, or close on the low. Understand that we already have a high wick up here. So we're either going to have to roll higher and close up here, or roll downward and close down here. So that puts us really in the 554 area again, where I've drawn this area and up into this area slightly higher. So remember, the bias is generally to the upside right now. We have moved back into this sideways trading. You can see here this trend, these dash line trends here, this level and this level. So we're back into this pre-Kamala shakeout trending mode. We're back into this standard deviation channel here, almost like this deep V just happened and then didn't happen, and we're kind of right back into this area. So given the fact that we are below this gap window, holding up above this channel, staying above the 552 and a half level, which I believe was my indicator this morning. We will check, come down here to 30-minute. Yeah, it looks like 552 and a half, 556 and a half, sorry. So we are looking at really understanding that a potential pullback would be something like this, closing on the low, rolling downward, and closing potentially on the low at the end of the day. Just really kind of a weakening trend, breaking through this 556.75, 566.80 area. A strengthening trend would be the opposite. We rolled down, we would roll back up, and we would close on the high, something up here. So that would probably be up in the 561.13, maybe a little higher area. And that would give us a closing Bozu. We would literally be closing at a high or closing at a low, which would give us an area like right down here for the, well, right up here for the high, maybe a little higher, right down here for the low, maybe a little lower. And that's what would be required for this closing bar rotation. We need to see this roll of price here at the end of the day. Otherwise, we will not get the Bozu trending bar. Now, tomorrow's pattern is a topping pattern, and tomorrow's pattern should be, even hypothetically, if we went down, I'll draw them in either case, okay? So you guys can understand what we're looking at. Tomorrow's pattern, if we ended up moving down today, would revert back to the upside. So continue to move higher, forming some peak, and then rolling back down. That's what tomorrow's pattern looks like. So again, if I were to clone this and paste it right up here, this is what tomorrow's pattern would look like if we closed up at the high. Now, maybe not quite that high, but the same structure would be in place. Okay, it's a rolling of trend to the upside and then rolling downward. I'll move this back one there. That gives you the same type of structure. So understand that a topping pattern is a rally of sorts up to a peak, which I think would be in this range, in this rejection range here, right here, carrying over, or up into the 564, 563 area, and then rolling downward, followed by the next 2 days, which are flat down and harami inside. So flat down and harami inside indicate that we're probably going to see nothing more than just rotation. So when you look at what the next Thursday and Friday, this Thursday and Friday look like, assuming we're from here, the flat down pattern should be relatively minor in this window. Okay, and then we move into the harami inside bar, should be within this bar moving sideways, and that's assuming this stays in this range. This could maybe be a little deeper back into this area. And then the harami pattern really has this whole range to operate in. And again, you have the same thing. All you got to do is basically copy all of these and drag them down here. So here, Control C, Control V. This is what the flat down would look like. And this is what the harami pattern would look like the next day. So this kind of gives you an idea that in reality, what we're looking at is a good solid basing pattern over the next 2 or 3 days. And if you follow me on this, you can see that we've had this great big rally. We're running into resistance. We're trying to find a base here. We'll see if we move up higher or lower today for the Bozu Trending. Tomorrow's topping pattern may be rolling back up into this 558, 559 area, or maybe up into this 564 area. Then we roll back down, and we're really going to close. If you look at it, we're going to close higher for the week, but it's not going to be substantial. Now, the following week, we move into what looks to be a broader trend. We move into this inside breakaway on Saturday. We don't trade on Saturday. I know counter trend pop means we should get a downward bar potentially on Sunday, meaning pullback pressure. I think that's all leading towards kind of a flagging formation that will lead into this breakaway carryover, and then we get this crush rally, up, down, up, top resistance. And I think what's really happening here is that we are establishing a range, a consolidated range. So you can see if we hold this high and move down, we're going to establish this type of formation, possibly coming across maybe these lows here, setting up some sort of a flag. Or we're going to come up to these highs up here and come across into this area and setting up some sort of a flag, maybe off of these areas here coming across. So remember, what we're doing more than likely over the next 36 plus hours is that we are rolling into a flagging formation, more than likely. Okay, more than likely rolling into some sort of a flagging formation, which will end on Friday, possibly moving a little bit higher at the end of the day on Friday into next week's rally phase. The Vortex Rally is actually quite strong. When you take a look at this, go to a 4-hour chart, and you can see this rally off of this base and bottom has been stupendous. I mean, this is a beautiful rally. It's already up from the lows, close to 9%. Those people that have been shorting this all the way up, thinking this is going to be a big topping pattern and roll over, have just been trapped right now. And we kind of need to see how this plays out. We're consolidating a bit. We might roll into a solid trend here near the end of the day, but we'll see how it plays out. So let's take a look at gold. Yep, go away. Gold is rolled back down. It hit the 2550, 2570 area. Yeah, just 2570. And if you remember, I started talking about, 2573. It was back over here. 2573, 2574 to me was the real warning that we were going to run into some issues. And look, we came up to 25. If I do the math here, well, we can come right over here. Data layer high was 2570.4. So we still have a chance of maybe getting into 2580, 2590. But remember, anywhere up in this area, get rid of some of these lines, even though they're important, I want to show you that if we move up into this 2580, 2590 area, this is a really great area for you guys to really book profits. If you're long and you've held this thing, you need to understand that, this is a really great, book profits area. I mean, it is a stupendous move. We've seen from basically over here in these lows, really back over here. But look at this move in gold. This has been a very solid upward move, up almost 11%. And we may end up in the 2600, 2613 area, but really just start booking. This is a great time to start locking in profits, and maybe leave a couple of runners if you want, tighten up your stop. I'll tell you what, if I were in a position to be holding something, and just hypothetically, and I was looking for my stop level, I'd start looking around over here at this rejection area and or this rejection area, almost the same. That would put me with a stop level probably right in this area, 2507, being able to anchor my profits, maybe a little higher, maybe run it up to 2519 in that area, and basically let my runners go. And at this point, it's a ladder right up this channel: 2574, 2583, 2592, 2602, 2613, and then 2624. It should run right up that ladder. So theoretically, at 24, 2570, 2592, your stop can be anywhere 2583 or 2574. It basically runs right up those Fibonacci levels, and you can see them. They're right here, 2572. So right there is your 2570, 2580, 2590, 2602, 2613, and 2624. They're right here, right in this realm right there. And of course, they go a little higher. Okay, but I really don't think we're going to get much above this. And then we'll come over and take a look at Bitcoin. Trying to hold up right now. Looks like it's trying to roll into this channel. Let me come back over here, my regular chart. Yeah, Bitcoin 4-hour. Let's go back to daily. I mentioned earlier we were running into this flag. And I know I got a lot of crud on my charts, guys, but we're running into this flag and we're just now breaking out of this flag. So we've got to be fairly cautious of the flag rotation. Now, I will highlight that we do have, and I'm going to redraw it, we do have kind of a basing support level here. Need to be very aware of that level. Make it yellow. We get below that level, I'd start to be fairly concerned. And then we do have the upper basing rejection area, multiple rejection areas basically here. We need to get above that level to see a rally. So we need to break this range. That's 26,500 and 60,850 roughly. We need to break this range. And now let me do this in a rectangular mode. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get out of that range in order to see Bitcoin really begin to move. Now, of course, we can go down into smaller time frames. And yes, I do believe Bitcoin is going to move higher. It's questioned by one of my friends and one of my subscribers today. Why do I believe Bitcoin is going to move higher if I believe that Bitcoin is really and I hate to say it, but I really believe this is more of a hype type digital currency, then I mean, I know there's fundamental reasons why Bitcoin is where it is, but there is no correlation of Bitcoin to gold, and you can see that. Look, we can add gold here, and you can see. Oops, move to view pane above. Okay, so here's our gold chart. Okay, we'll get that. Here's our gold chart, and you can see there's a little bit of correlation in the sense that we based and bottomed here on the way up. This is 2023. Let's come over here to weekly. But in reality, folks, Bitcoin collapsing, gold rallying, Bitcoin rallying a bit, gold sliding sideways, Bitcoin sliding sideways, gold rallying, gold peaks, roll sideways. This is COVID. No real fear at this point. Government printing money. Bitcoin rallies on speculation, rallies tremendously, rolls around, rallies again, consolidates all the way back down. Gold consolidates as well. Bases and bottoms almost at the same time. And gold has really begun to rally and Bitcoin's began to rally. Is there a correlation related to gold and Bitcoin where Bitcoin is a hedge? I argue no. I argue that gold and silver have been for thousands of years a traditional hedge against against weakening currency. And you can read it's been about 4 or 5 times in China. Currencies have been replaced. Paper currencies have been replaced with tin, copper, gold, and silver. So understand that Bitcoin would not, in my opinion, be a tangible solution to a weakening global market. But Bitcoin is going to continue to be, and I will highlight this, going to continue to be a in favor remove. It's going to continue to be an in favor solution for traders simply because traders believe that Bitcoin is here to stay. And because they believe it is here to stay, it will continue to stay as a speculative, uh, uh, let's call it hedge to traditional investment. So it is not that Bitcoin is acting as a proper hedge, but as long as, and I'll tell you this, same thing happened with Beanie Babies, same thing happened with other things. As long as people believe that there is a real market, a real demand, and a real solid basing for their investment into anything, stocks, commodities, Bitcoin, it doesn't matter. But as long as you believe the value and you believe the general market believes the value is going up, well, then we have a solid reason to believe that Bitcoin is going to go higher. And why is that, Brad? Because as long as the general consensus is that this should go up, the traders believe it'll go up, that it has intrinsic value, you're going to see valuation levels that do not make sense and will continue to climb. And again, all you got to do is look at something like Beanie Babies, those tiny little bean stuffed dolls or whatever they were that were selling for $400, $500, $600 a doll when they were made for 9, 10, 11 cents. And people thought that the world just was in love with Beanie Babies and everybody couldn't have it. And then all of a sudden something changed and Beanie Babies became almost worthless overnight because people realized they're just little dolls. There is no real intrinsic value to an 11-cent doll unless you're a collector. Then you might love it. So again, I'm not arguing to pick a fight with the Bitcoin people that are out there. What I'm simply saying is I was asked if Bitcoin is an appropriate hedge like gold, and I don't believe it is. I think it's an appropriate hedge right now because I believe the environment we're in will suggest that Bitcoin will rally higher until something changes in the valuation and expectation of Bitcoin. But intrinsically, No, Bitcoin is too new. It hasn't established itself. And like the age-old question is, let's say that the world does come to an end and wars and whatever, and you think Bitcoin is going to be your savior. Well, how? You really think that if the world comes to an end and currencies collapse and governments collapse, you think you're going to potentially have the internet and you think you're going to be able to go access your Bitcoin wallet and be able to trade your Bitcoin for something of real intrinsic value? Um, like food or water or bullets or something. I don't see it happening. I think if we get to that point where we're all living off of what we can scrape off the ground and or find, I think the last thing that I would want to be trading for was Bitcoin. I think I'd be wanting to trade for something I absolutely needed right now that I could get my hands on, not something that's sitting over in a digital wallet somewhere, potentially, maybe I can get my hands on it. Okay, so there's my point. So anyway, we're going to see what happens here. And again, I'm really looking for Bitcoin to move back up here, which is going to put us into the 64,500 range. Okay, guys, talk to you later.